all the young people, the teenagers. We're going to tell you the true story about what happened in odzala-kokoua in the Republic of Congo in an area called Ngaga. And as Linky said, there was a big excitement for me to go with my grandson. In Afrikaans, we call a grandfather Oupa. And it was a big excitement for us to get on the plane 3 o'clock in the morning and to fly to the Republic of Congo. Now, I just want to mention that some people are not aware that there are 2 Congos in Africa. If you look at this map, the bigger one is the Democratic Republic of Congo, and the capital there is Kinshasa, and the smaller one is the Republic of Congo with a capital called Brazzaville there. And Kinshasa and Brazzaville are just opposite each other on the same river, the 2 closest capitals in the world, just opposite the river from each other. So what was important for me is I wanted for Ruben to experience a new culture and the wonderful people in Congo. Incredible, colorful people, not wealthy people like that we get in Europe and some wealthy countries, but people with incredible spirit and incredible hospitality. So we took Ruben out to some of the markets. Here's 2 of my colleagues, Karen and Iris. And they took Ruben, and he had opportunity to look at the markets and meet some of the colorful people there. But of course, the big wish was also to share with him the beauty of the forest. A place that I fell in love with and something I will always hold in my heart. And the beauty of that forest is stunning. Here you have an aerial photo of the trees. You're looking at trees 40, 50, probably a little higher, 40, 50 meters high with the undergrowth. And once this gets into your blood and in your mind, then it stays forever in your life. And of course, then there's the elusive gorilla, and we will hear a little bit more about that tonight. And I realized that Ruben will not be able to see the gorilla, and there's a particular reason for that. So here I have a photo of our patron, Mrs. Sabina Plattner, who is sponsoring all the work that we are doing in Congo. And here she is watching the gorilla. And you will notice that she's wearing a mask, and this has got nothing to do with Corona. The simple reason for that is that gorillas are close to humans and they can get the same illness as we carry. And therefore, a young boy like Ruben was not allowed to go to and view the gorillas, simply because if he carry any childhood disease, let's say like chickenpox, and he then infects one of the gorillas, then the gorillas could die because they don't have any resistance to that. And that's the reason why we visit the gorillas with masks, but we also knew Ruben was too young to go and see the gorillas. But we also thank our patron for the work that she's been doing there over the years. So yes, we jumped on the plane in Brazzaville, and there on the plane for the first time, Ruben met this beautiful young lady, Daniela, and he was quite chuffed meeting this young lady. And Daniela, I'm introducing her to you now, and she will take us to the next level. Please, Daniela.
Hi, everyone. I'm Daniela. I'm AD's partner. And at the time, I was also a guide at Odzala. And I remember being on the plane with Ruben and Chris and how excited Ruben was to see the forest. So we headed north from Brazzaville to Odzala-Kokoua National Park, which is the largest dark green section toward the north there, which is a protected piece of the rainforest within the heart of the Congo Basin. And now the Congo Basin is Africa's rainforest. It's about 3 times the size of South Africa and is the world's 2nd largest tropical forest. And is probably one of the most important wilderness areas in the world, providing about 30% of our oxygen. This area was probably one of the most incredible places that I've ever had the privilege of guiding in, and it's really difficult to sort of convey the vastness of this wilderness. And here's a bit of a video to sort of portray that. And it's just incredible how you can fly for ages without ever seeing the ground. So overcast weather and rainstorms are very typical conditions over the forest. And these areas are just so important to remain protected because they provide such an important haven for endangered species such as chimpanzees, forest elephants, and in this area in particular, the elusive western lowland gorilla. This odzala does have a variety of diverse habitats, from extremely dense forests to these more open areas known as bais. Now, a bai is known as it's a low-lying area within the forest that is quite sparsely vegetated, with very nutritious aquatic plants that attracts a diversity and array of different species. And you can see the different game trails in that previous picture. So this picture is really probably depicts the most important aspect of odzala, or the rainforest, is that it's a very immersive experience. You're looking at odzala being about a third the size of Switzerland, with about 45 kilometers of roads. So this means that most of our experiences or moving into the forest is either done on foot or by water. This is where Odzala airstrip is, cut out of a slightly less dense section of the rainforest. And this is where Ruvan's adventure begins.
Thank you for that, Daniela. Okay, so this is when we drove from the airstrip to the Mbomo village. It was my first rainforest experience, and this is the first time I got some hints of what the deeper forest would look like. This is an example of a forest road. There are sometimes many fallen trees and wildlife close to the roads. So when there are gorillas and wildlife and fallen trees by the roads, they are considered dangerous. Here is an example of a fallen tree in our park. It was chopped into pieces by one man with one machete, but moved by several. But the amazing part was how the guy with the machete actually chopped the tree into pieces, and the matter of time he did it because he has this awesome style, and he makes it look very easy. The Mbomo village. Here you can find some of the friendliest people ever. The villagers here, financially they have nothing, but family, the community and nature means everything to them. I also had the privilege of staying one night in this fantastic village, and it was amazing. In Mbomo village, I met these friendly and smiley children. We could not understand each other at all, but once we started playing some ball games with some of the balls I brought for them to Mbomo, they quickly catched on, and their favorite game to play was hand tennis. This is your typical village home. At the back is where the family sleeps. In front of the house is where the meals and fire gets made and the meals get prepared. Behind the house, the family has their own plantation, in this case banana trees. And then in front of the fireplace, you could see there's no trees and no plants or leaves at all. This is because before the family sets foot into the house, they actually look for snake trails to see if there were any snakes going into their home. In this village, I met the wonderful guy called Sol on the picture here on the left. Sol is a special needs guy. However, he has this gift and talent to making figurines out of umbrella wood. He gave me this awesome car, and yes. Driving at Ngaga camp was awesome. It was the most varieties of greens I've ever seen in my life. That is where I met the two researchers, Marta and German. This is also where I was blown away by nature. Even though it's a camp, there isn't really open areas where there are no trees or no plants, except for the main lounge area and the bedrooms. Then I met this awesome guy, a guide full of knowledge, skills, and a massive relationship with the rainforest, my big brother, AD.
Thank you very much for that flattering introduction, buddy. Now, folks, I met Ruvan that evening on the Ngaga deck for the first time. He reminded me a lot of a young 80. He was full of questions, each one of them pertaining more and more to nature. And he showed a particular interest in how one would, in fact, survive if you were stuck out in the bush. So I thought for the next few days, we would, in fact, do small walks around camp and, look at how one could survive in this odzala. So Ngaga camp has 6 little chalets like this, all of them elevated, so that one gets an equal experience with the forest floor and then with the canopy, where those more elusive creatures often hang out. The entire camp is built to be biodegradable and eco-friendly, and palm leaves used to create that outer exterior. It's water and windproof. The 2 main branches you can see there, doesn't have a story to them yet, but this little stream is the Ngaga stream that would run past camp. But wait until you see this transformation.
Okay, so on day 1 in Ngaga camp, Adi taught me how to make a vine bed. Before we started, we had to gather a lot of vines, which we thought in that case was enough at that time. But quickly we realized, as we wrapped the 2 trees with the vines, we quickly realized we were short of vines. So there were about 3 times when we had to walk upstream again to look for some more vines. And then this was a fun activity with Adi, and I'm glad I got to share it with him.
Folks, and how funny is it that that evening Chris and myself still joked with Ruvan and said that to get the full experience he needed to sleep there for the night. The photo you can see on screen here, once Ruvan and myself were done building the vine bed, we decided to take a slow walk along the Ngaga deck. You can see the sun is just about to set, and that's the time when the nocturnal creatures would come alive, which those forests boasts with a large variety of. So that next morning, Ruvan and myself had a quick breakfast at camp, and we decided to head out for a small walk into the forest. I grabbed my guiding backpack, which, as per standard, would have a radio, compass, first aid kit, rope, and a pocket knife with it. And off we went to go and explore the area. Now, what's important about Ngaga is that, as you can see how dense the understory is, there's in fact man-made trails to allow us to freely move from point A to point B. And this trail network is set up in a spider web that then encircles camp and goes further and further away. The further you are from camp, the smaller the trails, because they're unkept. The closer to camp, the better. So on this morning, we once again crossed the stream. This morning it looks a bit different, as there were no fewer than 5 different butterfly species enjoying the minerals from the mud around the water. Butterflies isn't the only thing that you come to Ngaga for. As you can see in this picture, Ngaga camp itself boasts with a large array of different species, ranging from colorful insects to 17 different primate species, which is the largest diversity of primates found in any block of land in Africa. But the stars of Ngaga is and will always be the western lowland gorillas. The Ngaga camp is situated in the Nzei concession, which is about the same size as France. Now, within this concession, there's just over 400 gorillas that's divided in over 40 groups with a few solitary males that's then around within the area. It was, for myself, such a pleasure to have Ruvan with me, because for the first time since I've went to the Congo, I had the chance to experience the forest through the eyes of a 13-year-old me. It was only until much later, after keeping our heads to the ground mainly, looking for colorful insects and interpreting tracks, that I looked up and noticed this very impressive strangler fig in the center of the screen. No matter how big the forest, a tree like this one can always recognize. Problem was that I didn't. That was the first sign of us not being on a trail that I knew, in fact. I looked at my watch. I saw that we only had an hour left to get back to camp as per our designated time. I knew we weren't going to make that. So I opened my backpack to pull my radio out and just let camp know we were going to be a bit late. To my shock, for the first time ever, I had left my radio in camp in the office on charge, which meant that we had no means of communication to camp. We continued along this trail for a while until the path simply stopped, which isn't uncommon, as I said earlier, within the further outskirts of the trail. If you look at the dark patch that cuts this impenetrable undergrowth diagonally, there is in fact a trail that goes there, mainly walked by chimpanzees, gorillas, forest hogs, and leopards. So with Ruvan and myself crawling, we were able to continue, knowing that in most cases, this would then link up to another trail. But unfortunately, as we moved along, very, very soon we realized that this trail was starting to vanish in front of our eyes as the animals were moving away from this trail.
Okay, so meantime, back at the camp, where there were a number of us sitting around the table working, and Adi and Ruvan were supposed to be back at 12 o'clock. And 12 o'clock came and gone, and I said nothing. And on the other side of the table was Dr. Magdalena Bermejo, a primatologist. She and her husband Herman has lived there for 20 years. Okay. And after a while, I said to Magdalena, do you notice what I've noticed? And Magdalena said, yes, I've noticed. I said, they're not back. And I said, Magdalena, I'm not too worried. Let's give them a little bit longer, wait and see if they come back. And probably after another 15 minutes, Magdalena immediately got the sense of urgency, and she said, no, Chris, no, we have to send some trackers out to find them. And there was a radio message going through to Mboko, another camp, where Daniela was. And what Daniela communicated brought another sense of urgency to me. Would you like to share with us briefly, Daniela?
Yes, Chris. So when I heard the news, my heart sank. And that was because Adi, number one, does not get lost. And yes, it may be normal for guides to come back slightly later than planned. It was completely out of character for Adi to come back hours later. And all that went through my mind was that if Adi is not lost, that means he must either be hurt or worse. And all that I had hoped was, firstly, obviously, that everyone was okay, but mainly that Ruvan hadn't left Adi's side to try and find his way on his own. And when we got to Ngaga, I went to Magda, who had been working with Adi for over 2 years at this stage. She shared my thoughts and concerns.
So Magda immediately sent a tracker out to try and find the trail. Now, for the young people who are joining us tonight, these trackers are people of the forest who grew up in the forest. They know the forest like you would know the place where you stay. They don't need GPSs, but they can follow any track and quickly determine the tracks of animals or humans. And so Magdalena said, let's send somebody out. And the first message we got by radio, well, we were told that they couldn't find any track. So they started sending out more trackers, and immediately my decision was made, and I just said to Magdalena and Herman, I said, you take control of the situation. You know this, you're on command, and you're going to manage the search. So later the afternoon, as we got closer to the evening, we got some guides in, and all of us went with trackers or guides to try and see if we can find them. What was very important at that point is that we had to say to the guides, Ruvan has got no understanding of the forest, and we do not know what is the situation with Adi. We do not know if he's dead or alive, if the two of them are split. And we thought that if Ruvan is on his own and he hears noise, he might hide. So we said to the trackers, his name is Ruvan, you know Adi, call their names, blow whistles. They had horns that they blew on so that Ruvan and Adi could hear while they were tracking them. Okay, in the meantime, what was Ruvan and Adi doing? So Adi, tell us, what were you guys up to?
Well, Chris, our situation was becoming quite serious now. We had just about run out of water, which for those who don't know, if you run out of water in the rainforest, it's only a few hours before dehydration, in fact, starts kicking in. And the moment you get dehydrated, your decision-making skills become impaired. So I knew that we immediately had to aim for the stream, even if we cut through the bushes or found another man-made trail. That was our #1 priority at that stage. I looked up at the sky, but that beautiful sunny morning had vanished. There were clouds all over, and we wouldn't be able to tell our direction from using the sun. Luckily, I had a compass in my backpack, or so I thought. I pulled out the compass, aimed it in a southwesterly direction to be able to hit the stream where we would get the water we so desperately needed. And as you've seen in the previous photos, camp is right next to the stream, so we could walk upriver to then find it. We had followed the compass for well over an hour, with the bugging question in my head for a while. Why have we not reached a man-made trail despite aiming to get closer to camp? We had at long last found a bit of a clearing in the forest, and I was able to line up 3 trees, a couple of 100 meters apart, which were in a straight line. And we walked in that straight line, following the compass. What we saw shocked us. The compass varied significantly, even though we were walking in a straight line. It was quite scary. You know, the fact that you've been following a compass blindly and now come to the realization that you have no idea where you are. It's practically impossible to explain in today's modern era of technology. If I could explain it, envision yourself in the largest city you've ever been. There's not a single road sign. There's no cell phone connection. You don't even have your cell phone. And there's not a single soul just to ask directions. We did a 360, didn't know where we are, and less knew where we needed to go. Problem is, when it rains, it pours in the Congo. Not a few minutes after realizing that we had now no idea of where we were, did I hear a cracking sound in front of us. Sounded like a gorilla, so we stood still just to listen. We now had to determine, was it a silverback or a group? Was it a solitary male or a group? If it is a group, it means that they've got the big alpha male, the silverback, with them, who would not hesitate to protect them if they got scared or spooked. So we stood dead still listening. We heard a crack on our right, heard another crack on our left. So this meant that at that moment, we were at least surrounded from 3 sides by a group. And a silverback's jaw strength is way stronger than that of a male lion even. This was the moment where I knew that Ruvan's safety, as it always was now #1 priority. And for him to stay calm, I looked over at him, and that was the first time that I could see panic in his eyes. I put my hand on his shoulder, and I could feel every muscle rattling with fatigue and with fear. I looked him in the eyes and I said, Ruvan, when you motion rise, the IQ drops. So you've got to focus. And the most incredible thing happened.
I became acutely aware of the circumstances we were in. After a day's walk, I was really tired. We often had to use our pocket knives to move through the thick Mantasi bushes. 80 whistled for help, but we heard nothing. We are lost, exhausted, and closely surrounded by the group of gorillas feeding. That is also when I had to make mature and logical decisions. I had to persist and work with 80 for our survival. My mental state changed from being very worried and knowing that my parents and granddad are worried to keeping calm.
It was remarkable to see such a young man grasp this mature concept and actually make it his truth, especially in a dangerous, scary situation like this. It was thanks to that we could actually quietly and calmly move away from this group of gorillas, in fact, without them even noticing. We then had to make a few choices. The only thing that we could do at that stage would be to slowly start tracking our way back, as I knew that the trackers would be on their way already, following us. The sooner we could meet up with them, the sooner they'd have a few bottles of water for us to drink. But after about 30 minutes of walking, we realized that we're just wasting energy and precious body water walking in the heat of the day. I found a big fallen over tree, and we decided to set up camp there, as we would be protected completely from the one side from leopards or anything else that could potentially stalk us at night. Ruwan and myself, similar to gorillas, grabbed every Marantasi leaf we could find in that area, and we made a smooth mattress. Just about when it was done, Ruwan fell asleep immediately. This gave me the opportunity to move around in his close vicinity and collect these Marantasi fruit that you can see on the screen, and also young, fresh Marantasi shoots. Interestingly enough, Western lowland gorillas don't need to drink water, thanks to these fruit and all of the moisture in these Marantasi shoots. So we sat down and we ate a very meagerly dinner of leaves and fruit. And we prepared ourselves for what surely would have been the longest night of our life.
So back at the camp, we realized that we have a crisis. And we realized that we have to act and act soon. And at that stage, we started contacting various people. We only had Wi-Fi, and we could connect with people via WhatsApp. And then also we had radio connection with the other camp. And at that point, we started getting more help. We connected with the Africa Parks, who are the conservationists protecting the forest, and we asked them to start getting some rangers ready to come the next morning. And we got a wonderful message. Somebody delivered a wonderful message coming from the village of Mbomo, where the Superfay of Mbomo, that means the head of the village, offered to send 100 people to come into the forest and to help look for Ruwan and for Adi. Incredible gesture of solidarity, because they met Ruwan the 2 days before, and they saw him in the village, and it was for them, he was a guest of honor, and they wanted to make a difference. So we then had to start making arrangements, thinking, well, probably we have to start thinking about getting the parents there. And at the time, we contacted our office via WhatsApp in Congo, and we had discussions with Karen and Iris. They had to contact the South African embassy, and that was ready at night, try and make arrangements if we need to bring people in without visas. So it was quite a tricky scenario that we were in. And we also then at the time contacted the German embassy, and we got help from everywhere. And later at night, I realized we are now at the point of desperation. And I then contacted Mark Gately, who's on tonight, and Paul Telfer, both of them who knows this forest very well. And I said to them, guys, this is the situation. Don't talk to anybody. And I restricted everybody. I said, you do not go on social media. You speak to nobody. But this is the situation. We have done A, B, C, and D. What else should we do? What have we forgotten? And they then said to me, well, we think you've done what you could do, and obviously prepared themselves to come for the worst. And then we also took a decision at that point not to let any family members know, simply because you do not contact that time of night and say, hey guys, your child is gone. So that's where it all sort of seemed to be. And then the worst thing in my book ever happened. The biggest mother of a storm broke out. I have not seen this in my life. And Magdalena would also say to you, this was out of the ordinary. The rain came down in buckets, and it was only lightning. And it was, for me, it was the worst thing ever. But on the other side, Adi and Ruvan, they were out in the storm. And what were you guys doing?
So the storm was a blessing because we were extremely thirsty and desperate for water. We drank so much water until we couldn't anymore. We filled our bottles with the rainwater. Can you all see me?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, this is the shirt I wore on that journey. And basically, we lay on the Marantesi, and then when it was completely soaked, we took it like this, then you squeeze it, and then you use your thumb for not wasting any water. So that's how we drank from our clothes. And then AD had planned us a fishing trip during the night to keep my mind off the cold and make me think about getting back home.
What an experience, eh? That storm, I think everyone at camp were so nervous, and I think that was the lowest point for them. But like Ruvan said, was it not for that storm and for all of that water that we needed, who know where we would be today. My personal highlight of the experience, in fact, came just after the rainstorm. Within many tropical forests across the world, you get these bioluminescent mushrooms, but they only come out when the conditions are 100% favorable for them, and they only stay for a few hours afterwards. So the rain had come, we had our drink, and the next moment, the forest started glowing, slowly lighting up, becoming brighter and brighter, to the point where we could see the floor, we could see the trunks of the trees around us. In fact, this to me was just remarkable, as for 2 years I have been searching for this fungus and I was never successful in finding it. And I couldn't think of a better person to share it with at that time than with Ruvan.
While they were making their bed for the night and were out in the forest, we were in the rainstorm. And Magdalena came to me and she said to me, Chris, I'm not sure that it makes any sense for the trackers to carry on, but the decision is yours, what to do. Now, your nature, your emotions want the trackers to keep on going, to look, but common sense luckily prevailed, and we then called the search off. Probably, I would say, one of the difficult decisions I had to make. Sorry, still emotional. Okay, so we took the decision to call to call it off, and we said everybody goes to bed. Nobody stays up. Get your rest. We got the trackers to come back, and everybody went to bed. And I think that very few people slept that night. And I was sitting out there on the porch the whole night, not knowing whether AD and Ruvan had a radio with them. And Linky started by saying that they live close to the west coast, which is a very the ocean is very cold in that area. And Ruben loves swimming, and he swims in this very, very cold water. And yeah, and then I said to Ruben on the radio, every now and then I said, hey, Ruben, I don't know if you can hear me, but if you can hear me, if AD is dead, stay with him. Don't go anywhere. If he's injured, stay with him. If you're on your own, don't move. Stay where you are. We are looking for you. And yeah, that was how we went through the night. And then obviously in that situation, we had to move on. So came the next morning, very early morning, it was still dark. I then had to phone the parents and share with the parents the situation. Linky can tell us now what happened on their side. But I also had to phone my friend Sabina Plattner, informing her what is happening and asking her if she would come to the party in the sense of supporting us. She organized the aeroplane from South Africa. Yeah. And anyway, so sorry. Linky, over to you, please.
Yes, so I received a WhatsApp missed call from my dad at 5 o'clock on the morning of the 1st of October. Knowing my dad, who's been a trauma counselor for many years, he typically would give families a missed call in the early hours of the morning to first wake them up before he needs to be the bearer of bad news. So when I received the missed call, Andre and I were immediately awake, and I knew something was wrong. In my mind, my first thoughts were that Ruvan fell ill and that they need to get him home quickly. But the words that followed made our hearts stop. I heard my father asking Andre and myself to stand together and to support each other, no matter what. And then we received the word that Ruvan went walking with a guide the day before, and that they were supposed to be back at camp at 12:30. But they have been missing since. He explained that the trackers had been out until late that evening, but due to an extreme storm, they had to call the search off. At this point, we did not know whether they were alive, whether they were together, or what could have gone wrong. But my understanding was that the search team was working on a best case scenario, and that was that they were lost. So for any parent here tonight, I think you can imagine the desperation that we felt. We were not functional. We had to get to airports, and for Andre to go to Congo. And I knew that Andre would not return without Ruvan in his arms. In my desperation, I spoke to many people that morning to try and understand as much as I could about the situation and the environment. And this I was clinging to. I spoke to another guide, Cole Diakiti, who's here tonight with us. Thank you, Cole. You've been a great help. So when I spoke to Cole on a WhatsApp call, the moment was surreal because I could hear the lightning strike in the background. It was so loud. But Cole told me that the tracking team was ready to go out at first light and that the planes would fly over the forest as soon as the mist lifts. He calmed me and said that everyone is doing their best and that they will find Ruvan and AD. I then phoned AD's mother, whom I've never met, and she was calm, and she said to me that AD would do anything to protect Ruvan. I also spoke to a cousin of mine who was praying with so many people, and his words were that we have to believe that the right people with the right skills and who know the forest have been placed at Ngaga to find our son. I also spoke to a friend of mine who is very much involved with the anti-poaching in the Kruger National Park, and he's been a field ranger for many years. His assessment was that if Ruvan and AD were lost, They would have experienced much discomfort on the first day, but that they should have some energy to carry on the second day if they were able to get water. So at this stage, knowing that there was a rainstorm, I actually was grateful. I also asked him about the thought of getting sniffer dogs, and whilst he explained to me that the conditions in Congo would be very different in which the dogs are trained here in South Africa, he did think that a dog could give us some chance of perhaps finding them. So as you can imagine, the uncertainty at this point really had us to our knees. But so many people were so supportive in ways that we never thought possible. And many of you here tonight.
So the next morning was a buzz of activities. We connected with many people all over the world. There was a suggestion, and Magdalena said, well, if we can get sniffer dogs, bring them in. We were helped by veterinarians. General Joost, who's on tonight, also was very supportive. Remember, all this had to come from South Africa and come through the international borders without visas. And early morning, we asked the pilots of the plane, the Odzala discovery camps of their plane, to circle the area, which they did. And we knew that they will not be able to see AD and Ruvan, but at least the message would go out that we are looking for them. And Magdalena organized everybody again for the trackers to go out, and the search went on with more and more people joining. In the meantime, AD and Ruben was out there, and we would like to hear what they were doing.
Folks, we were long awake before sunrise. In fact, just after the euphoria of this bioluminescent mushrooms had settled, I realized that I was shivering. Poor Ruvan only had a short sleeve shirt on, and we were both drenched to the bone. I put my hand on his arm, and he was ice cold to the touch. I immediately took him, and we went to our leaf bed. We lay down. I took every Marantesi leaf which was in the area, and I folded it over us to create a bit of a blanket. I pulled Ruvan close to me, and after we stopped shivering, I just kept telling him that we were going to be okay, and that the next day we were going to go catch big tiger fish and big catfish, which did seem to help. But with the sunrise came a lot of good news. It was fairly clear where we were, which meant that we could actually see the sunrise, and we knew where east was. We still didn't have an idea where we were, but we knew which way to go. And I can't in words describe, that sense of having been lost for so long and at least then knowing where to go. So we had a quick leaf and fruit breakfast, which Ruan helped collect. And as we then left, I collected Marantesi leaves. And as you can see on the photos on the screen, I placed them upside down on the ground to expose the shiny underside, with the broken off side in the direction that we walked, which is very universal within Africa as a sign of where we were going. So now we set course for the stream, this time actually knowing in which direction we were going. We knew that people were looking for us, and we wanted to make it as easy as possible. We heard the plane fly over, and we tried to get to a clearing, which we couldn't find. This next video just shows how dense the undergrowth is and how slow one moves through it, as you have to cut your way through dense vegetation the whole time. But later that morning, we managed to find a man-made trail. It felt like turning from the smallest gravel road onto a highway. We haven't walked long by that stage when Ruvan spotted the biggest morale booster for any lost soul in the forest.
We were extremely hungry that morning. We found some trails and we were on our way back to camp. I spotted some red fruits called ginger fruit under the Marantesi, but they are really small and no bigger than the size of your thumb. So we needed a bunch of these for a meal. We each had about 12 of those ginger fruits. On the right side of the screen, you can see the inside of the ginger fruit. Not much flesh, but we had to suck the flesh out as the seeds are very peppery, and that was our morning breakfast.
Okay, so back at the camp, Magdalena was listening. There was a point where we realized it could turn bad. Magdalena came to me, and she and Herman stayed absolutely clinical. They worked on grids. They gave the instructions to everybody. Everybody had to listen what the instructions were, so everybody would know what is happening. And while the trackers were out there and all of them had the instructions, Magdalena came to me and she said to me, Chris, you have to prepare yourself. If Ruvan is on his own, he will not make the second night. And that was a moment of truth where you push it away, you push it aside, and you just say, we move on. And then as if by miracle, about 10, 15 minutes later after she told me, there came a voice on the radio of one of the guides, Alice. And Alice said, we found the place where they stayed for the night. And I was dumbstruck. And I said to Alice, I have 3 questions. 1, how many people? She said 2. I said 2. Second question, any sign of injury? She said no. 3, can you follow the tracks? And she said, they left us tracks. And Magdalena said, we've got them. We've got them. We will encircle them, and we've got them. Daniela, what a moment.
I will never forget that moment. As soon as I heard that Alice found where they slept, I knew that 80 was okay and that they would make it back to camp. It was the biggest moment of relief.
And 80, so now you found your direction. Briefly take us through. We've got a short time left.
Well, Chris and folks, we weren't out of the fire yet, as our water was running low by that time of the morning already. I knew I needed to distract Ruvan as we made our way back to camp. So with those ginger fruit not even touching sides as they went down, we decided to have a pizza building contest. So as we walked, we were trying to outdo each other who could design the biggest pizza. And as we got hungrier, the layers of pizza were just stacking on top of each other. But it was working. And later, midday, we had actually reached the stream. When Ruvan and myself got close to it, our speed increased, we were straight to the water, and we literally sat in the water just to cool down. And as survival skills would tell you, we took tiny little sips. It was at the stage where we actually heard the voices behind us. And as we turned around, there were the trackers. They had found us a few minutes before camp, and I can't tell you who were happier. I saw them.
So this video was taken by Magdalena as she takes the camp.
Oh, really?
Come back.
Really? We are very happy.
80, this moment, you are on mute.
I was deeply emotional, filled with joy and relief to be back at the camp. I was extremely grateful for the rain we got that night. One of the guides, Alice, told me that we walked approximately 34 kilometers in the total 27 hours we were lost. She measured this with a device. 80.
80, you're on mute, yeah.
There we go. Now, folks, I think this photo explains itself so clearly. You can imagine having slept out in the forest for the night, not really sleeping, battling the elements, to be able to get back to camp and to be welcomed so warmly by every staff member there, showing their concern. I mean, those eyes are filled with gratitude and they're filled with relief. And as you can see in our hands there, we have a Coke and an ice cold beer to help rehydrate us.
And back at camp, and emotions all come back. I've never really told the story in full. That's why I feel it so intense at the moment. So yes, everybody at the camp celebrating. We had a party of note, but it was not just them celebrating. We had to contact everybody from all over the world who were celebrating. And in the village of Mbomo, we got message that the village was celebrating and the youngsters were driving with their motorbikes on the hooters, celebrating all the time. And yes, I think the blessing of the rain, which was my worst moment, was most likely the best moment when nature actually looked after them that night. So the silent heroes, Magdalena, German, the trackers, the ones who worked behind the scenes with absolute accuracy, commitment. They wanted to get them out in any possibility existed. They wanted them out. Near Magdalena, she stands there next to Maritasia, just to give you an idea how high it is. And she holds her fingers like this and she said, it was that close. It was that close. Yeah. And Daniela, you know the value of that storm, which was my nightmare, which was their saving grace.
I don't know what would have happened if it had not rained.
Yeah, and then we also realized in hindsight, all mistakes made were human mistakes. It was our mistakes, not nature. Nature is in its beauty very, very comforting. And when you connect with nature, then you feel yourself back as part of nature. And as if nature wanted to say to us, well, welcome back, Ruben. When we drove back from Ngaga camp to the airstrip, this is what happened. Silverback came to say hello to Ruben. Thanks to Daniela for this footage. Ruben, Linky.
On our way back to Mbomo for the fishing trip AD and I planned, we saw this majestic silverback. In my whole experience of getting lost, I did not see a single silverback or a single gorilla, even though I heard them. I felt like the forest gave me an ultimate challenge, and this was the ultimate gift. And then I would also like to thank Madame Platner, Martha and German, the Ngaga team and all skilled trackers, the Mbomo village, Opa Chris, my family and my big brother AD for taking me on this journey and bringing me back. Oh, and I would also like to thank the chefs, Kumani and McCoy, who made the most delicious pizzas ever.
And from our side, it was so hard to describe when they were found, but obviously we had immense relief. And yeah, we still had some questions. But what we learned at that stage was that everyone involved was so focused and determined. And Marta, we're very grateful for your team. I think you've got better signal in the Congo than we've got in Darling tonight. But you were, in a very intellectual and special way, you taught Ruvan about the forest, his persistence, the passion and perspective that we need. Ruvan stayed another 5 days in the Congo before he returned home. For us, it was difficult, but we knew it was the best thing for him to spend more days in order to process what happened. Of course, when he got back to Darling, sitting in a grade 7 classroom was not so much fun anymore. So my perspective would also be that, you know, we've got to give opportunities for our children to explore and experience nature, perhaps not this extreme, but you know, it shouldn't stop us as parents for us to give the opportunities to teach our children to be inquisitive about the natural world.
And then here in this picture, folks, you can see that as promised, Ruvan got his fishing trip. In fact, we went out more than once because of the massive rainstorm that we had at Ngaga, which is upriver. In fact, when we got to the river camp to start fishing, the water had come down in such a flood that the wooded floodplains were full of water, and we couldn't get the boat in there. So fishing wasn't that successful, but as you can see, we were sitting in the sun, so much better than being cold and drenched in the rain. Everyone in good spirits, and Ruvan swinging off the tree like Tarzan himself.
So tonight we want to thank all the black swans. Why the black swans? Swans are normally white, and occasionally you get a black swan. The black swan is considered in our context to be good luck. And many black swans came our way, and this little wall hanging, I think, is batik that I got from the office in Ngaga, in Odzala, Brazzaville, where they sent me this and said, from the black swans, the people who reached out from all over the world. And we are grateful to all the black swans who came our way and supported us in this very interesting life experience that we will never forget. Just say again, nature was kind to us.
Yeah.
And we all look back to go back there and do click on Odzala Discovery Camps to see the beauty of those camps, which was built by Sabina Plattner for one reason only, and that is to support the survival of the rainforests. If any money is ever to be made there, it will be go back into the communities and back into conservation. So that is the end, and we thank you all. And I'm going to leave now and just say hello to Magdalena and her team. Magdalena, if you can come in.
Yes.
Magda, is there any chance that the trackers can just come closer so we can just see them?
I will try.
Please just ask them to come closer behind you. We can see the trackers. We see two of them. You can just give us the names, Magda. There's German. Hello, German. Give us the names.
We have a grass that is the smaller one and the biggest one at the same time. We have the one that was finding the first track of the people. That is Che. Che is the complete name. And we have Romaric, the biggest one. The
Okay, I think what we're going to do, unmute everybody and we give the trackers a round of applause. We're going to unmute everybody. Unmute it.
Merci tout le monde. Well done. Nice muted everyone.
Hi there. The bioluminescence on the mushrooms, are those poisonous mushrooms? I wonder.
If you guys don't mind, I'll answer this one. So 90% of mushrooms in Africa are poisonous. These ones are in fact as well. But Rod actually told me the other day that in the Baka culture, when they do ceremonies, they'll often collect these mushrooms and rub it on their skin to then glow at night to form part of the ceremony. Now, this doesn't affect their skin at least, but yeah, most mushrooms are quite poisonous, so don't eat them.
Wow, fascinating. Thank you. I'm so grateful. I think you guys are all blessed. I think that was an incredible, amazing story. Thank you. I think a lot more people need to hear it.
Thank you, Kurumi.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kurumi.
Any other questions? I'm looking for hands. Oh, there's a hand. Jonathan. Hello, Jonathan from Germany. We're going to unmute you. Just accept. There you go. Hello, Jonathan. Welcome.
Oh, hey.
Oh, it's wrong. Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. We were wondering because we felt how concerned, how in trouble you were. We felt how difficult it was for you, this whole situation. But Adi and Ruvan seemed not so concerned like you were. So I'd like to ask them, was it more a problem of causing trouble for your family? Or did you feel like in big danger?
So what I think is Adi and I were more worried about the families worrying about us. Because obviously we, at the back of our heads, we were also very worried, but I think we are more worried about our families.
Yeah.
Adi?
It's amazing what your mind does. Like when you don't know what's happening, your mind wanders and you can only think the worst. When your loved one isn't back the time that they said they would be back and they're still not back 12 hours later, you know, what do you think? There's been a huge storm. You can't help but think the worst. But for them, luckily, they were having a good time.
Hi, Adi and Ruan, I want to just ask you the question. Have you reflected on this and thought about everything that went wrong and obviously everything that went right as well, and come up with what were your learnings from this so that in future it never happens again?
That's a very good question, Tessa. Thank you very much. Personally, what I learned was to always double check your essentials before you go out. If only I had looked in my backpack before we left that morning, I would have seen that my radio was on charge in the office, and a lot of this could have been avoided.
Ruben?
I think what I learned was when the emotion rises, the IQ drops. So when you are in a situation like that, it's important to stay calm and think logically and do what you have to do and just like fight fast.
Okay, then there's a question from Jack. Can you unmute Jack? I think it's Jack Telfer, am I right? Can you find Jack and unmute him, please? Yes, Jack. No, yeah. Jack, we're unmuting you. Just accept it. Got you. Welcome, Jack.
Okay.
Hi, Jack.
Will you ever go back to the Congo?
I'd like to. I really would like to go back. It's a really special place to me, and it would be amazing if I could go back. It's just a really special place for me in my heart forever.
Thank you,
I have
Jack.
a question. Jack, would you ever go back to the Congo?
I think I saw a question by Anne.
Well, we just hear what Jack is saying. We're unmuting him, Jack. Accept. There you go.
Yeah, I'll go back.
Well, it's Cape Town better than Congo, Jack.
Maybe we can go together.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's something. Wonderful. There's something. Excellent. Yeah. All right, Magdalena is
Jack,
waiting
you're
for
always
you.
welcome to come to my camp. You know that.
Yeah. Okay. There was another question. Anne Nicholson, unmute her, please. Anne, you can unmute yourself.
Good evening, everyone. Just to say that that was an amazing story, and the question I had was, what did Adi and Juan learn from that? But the question has already been answered. I just wanted to say that Odzala and the Gaga camp and all the other camps there are such amazing places, and that if anyone has the opportunity to go there, they definitely must.
Yes.
Just one more question. I sent this invitation to a couple of people. Sadly, they weren't able to get on due to internet connections. They've asked me, has this been recorded and will it be available on YouTube?
Yes.
Yes, it's all been recorded.
Yes, and
we will
yes.
edit it a little bit, and it will be in YouTube, I think, as from around tomorrow afternoon. So
Fantastic.
you just go into YouTube and you check Leadership for Conservation in Africa, and then you can distribute the story. Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Anne, and thanks. And I agree with you. Odzala is an amazing place.
It's an amazing place. I have only one. I'm trying to get back there as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's not just amazing, it's also
special.
Such a crucial place for the survival of humans. So we should not forget that.
Absolutely.
Putting you back on mute. Any other last questions? I want to say that I'm shivering off the cold at the moment. If I go out, all of you go out. So I think the cold is more psychologically because that night was freezing cold. It's as if I feel that cold again. Anybody else? Esther, where's Esther? Unmute Esther, please. Or Esther, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. I'm not seeing Esther. Where's Esther? Esther, you can unmute yourself. Okay, Esther is not on. Anybody else?
You can ask.
There's a question. There's a question. Dorothea wants to ask a question. Unmuting.
With your family.
Can you repeat that?
Ask again.
Please repeat it.
Did you miss your family, Ruvan?
Did you miss your family? Ruvan, Adi, did you miss your family?
Yes, I miss my family very much, and especially you too, Mika.
Thank you. Dorothea, you want to ask a question?
No, it's not a question. I just want to tell Adi and Ruvan that we are going to have pizzas now. So thank you very much for the talk.
We have one hand raised. Njoki Kibani.
Thank you, Emma.
Njoki Devani, if you can just unmute yourself, there's more hands coming.
Hi.
Hey. Hello.
Let's just check. Ava, I'm going to unmute you, Ava, and then you ask your question. Hello, Ava. You on?
Like to encourage young people to visit Congo.
Can you maybe repeat that?
Would you like to encourage young people to visit Congo?
Yes, for sure. as I already said, it's an amazing place, and if you can experience it, just go.
And Yogi, I've been all over Africa, but nowhere has ever inspired me as much to take care of Mother Earth as much as the Congo did.
Okay, guys, I'm interfering here. Hold your questions. Hold your questions. Thank you. I have unmuted Christina Stander, Edie's mother. Krista.
Yes, Chris. Sure. And now I want to be emotional. It's the first time I heard the whole story, and yeah, it's wonderful. It's amazing, and we've been to Congo as well. And sure, it's a beautiful place, and I'm just happy that nature were good to you.
Yeah, exactly. Eva Telfer, unmute you. Thanks, Krista. The emotions is high tonight and the IQ is dropping. Eva.
I just wanted to ask, maybe you don't know this, but do you know like what you want to do when you're older? Like, do you know if this journey like set a path for you or something? I don't know.
So I'm not sure what I want to do next for my obviously as a job, but I'm sure it will have something to do with nature because I really like the nature. I don't want to sit in the office all day long, so it has to be something to do with nature.
Nice.
We can send you to the Amazon to get lost there, but I just want to say, Eva, she just finished her matric and she just graduated. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Study nature conservation. Well done.
Nice.
I saw the great
any other
picture.
questions? Okay.
Kayomi Fisher. Kayomi Fisher wants to talk.
Please unmute yourself.
I'm waiting for the book, Ruan. And you guys are all so blessed for everything, and I'm so glad it all worked out for the best. You guys are all amazing. Thank you for sharing your amazing, truly amazing story. It's very inspiring, and I really, truly hope you guys consider writing a book, maybe a children's book, something, you know. I think it's a beautiful story, and it's meant to be shared with everyone. I think it's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. And then I just want to say to Hildegard Viljoen, you must stop crying. I've stopped crying, so it's your turn to stop crying, please. And Krista, we haven't ever met. One day we'll meet. But I realized, and I'm just saying it to everybody, I have specialized in post-traumatic stress disorder, and I have counseled many people in this, but I never spoke about the story. And when I really shared it now tonight, actually for the first time, I for the first time experienced the trauma in its intensity. So it's just how it is. Yep. All right. Anybody else? And then I'm going to say goodbye to all of you. Hella Linkmeyer, good to see you again. Just as we browse through. Thank you, Hella.
I just want to ask one question to Kayomi Fisher. Kayomi, are you there?
You're unmuted. Unmute yourself. Yeah, you're unmuted.
Kayomi, is there any chance that you and my sister-in-law, who's also on this talk, who's smiling at me now on her screen, know each other?
Yes, we're very good friends. Both our daughters play in an orchestra together.
Oh, right. That's very cool.
Los Angeles Youth Orchestra. They are both violists.
Yeah, okay. Very special.
My daughter's too shy. She wouldn't speak, but she's quite an artist, and she was saying she would love to do the illustration for Ruan if he ever did come out with a book or a children's book, because she loves Africa, the beautiful trees. And she said, what did you do with my gorilla sketch? I want to show them my gorilla sketch. So I have to look for it, but
we would love to see that.
Yeah, she's actually done an illustration for a children's book about a girl who had cancer. And so she did illustrate for that, but it hasn't finished. But she's 15 now, so, but she did mention that. And I told her to speak up, on the Zoom, but she was too embarrassed. She's like,
no problem.
Okay,
guys.
Thanks, Lana.
Thank you, Rod. Great seeing you.
Thank
It was
you.
an amazing story.
Paul Telford, do you want to say something? Paul? Hello, Paul. Just unmute. There you go, Paul.
I just want to say that Adi, Danielle, it's great to see you. Reuven, I love you, man. You guys had the best adventure of them all.
Thank you, Paul.
I'm so happy for you, and I'm so proud of all of you and everything you've done up to this and then since. Odzala is in a magical place, and you guys have had it touch your hearts, and I think that's really special, so thank you.
Thanks.
Okay,
Thank
thanks.
you.
And
you,
thanks
Paul,
for
man.
the thumbs up. Now we're getting to the point where it's only family, and I'm getting to the point where I see Mark Gately. Mark, also for your advice, you and Paul that night, man, it was good to have friends, even if it was on WhatsApp, to guide your thoughts. Thank you for that. Okay, everybody, I think it's time. We want to thank everybody who participated, and I just want to say, Krista, I'm Krista Snander and Adi's parents. I'm unmuting you, and I want to meet your husband. I can't see you. Please just show your face. Adi's father. Ah, hello.
Long hair.
Your name?
That's where I get my hair from, Chris.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Good to meet you. And there also next to you is Andre with Linky. Andre.
You would like to say something.
Andre, please say something.
We're all waiting.
I know
Even
what's
if
going to
I
happen,
people
but say
think I'm on
something.
mute. Okay. As everybody, a lot of people know, I don't like talking about this whole story. I've actually banned the story from being told at Thrice. But I'd like to just thank a lot of unknown people that I haven't met, for all the help during a time that we're still processing in many ways. Almost the person that gave me the most hope during that time was I wasn't even on the phone call. My wife phoned Adi's mother early that morning to invite her on a plane that we managed to organize a private plane with sniffer dogs and drone pilots and whatever. And I said, well, we're already going to be in Skulk forever, because the plane was going to cost us 800,000 Rand. We might as well fill it up with enough people to join us. So we said, we got this plane going to Congo. If anybody wants to come, Adi's mother, you're welcome to come. Let's come. And she just said, don't worry, I trust my son. He knows what he's doing. So Adi, Mom had a lot of faith in you, and that gave me a lot of hope. You know, from that day, that morning, we basically said goodbye to Ruwan, in my mind at least. I think we went through the worst 24 hours of a parent actually losing a child, even though thankfully we didn't. So that's why we're still processing. But for Adi's mom, I mean, you're the person that gave us the most hope during that time. Thank you.
Thanks, Andre. And thanks for the plane that we did not have to pay for, but we have a patron who said, I'll pay for the plane. Thank you for that. That was a relief. Thank you very much. I started selling my house in my mind. Okay, guys, to everyone.
Adi, I also have to say to you, sorry, Chris, I want to interrupt you. Just a quick word to Adi. Adi and Danella, I just want to say to you, Alon did try to get on tonight. And he said, wish you all the best, and yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rod.
But he did try to get on tonight. He was actually on, so he's actually on the official numbers, but I don't think he watched it.
Rod, between Alon and Cole, they basically taught me most things that I knew about the Congo. So I think I'll forever be grateful, to have met Alon as well. I really miss him. So please send my regards and love there.
Yeah. Well, when this COVID's over, you might have a job up there.
I'm so keen. Yes.
And Carl,
anyway, guys, carry on.
We will contact you We want to hear a talk from you. So all the youngsters, 14 July, we will have a next talk, and invite your friends, and we want to fill the screen with 1,000 young people and as many as possible from Africa. So to everybody, I'm saying good night.
Let me just interrupt Chris again. I'm just going to say we anticipate a really good talk on the 14th of July. A really good talk for somebody who's lived in the bush for a long, long time, born in the bush, and she's now 15 years old. Let's expect a really great talk from a person who was brought up in one of the remotest places in Africa.
Okay. So lastly, Ron, thanks to all who helped us, Warren, and the rest of the team, the technical team behind the scene, Renee, Maret, Duret, Warwick, who else was there? Thank you so much for helping us. And Hildegard, you can stop crying now. And I'm saying good night to everybody, all the buddies, everybody who stuck with us through this whole thing. Much appreciated. Have a good night's rest or a good day wherever you are.
Bye, everyone. Thanks.
Goodbye.
Bye all.